Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage, and we are back working on the DeLorean 32 Roadster project. We got the hood, finally, hallelujah. So we were able to get the hood. Thank you to Perry and Tom for working with us to get the hood to us. And we now have the hood for this car, which is really awesome. And pretty much all the pieces I've gathered to build this car. So I already had a lot of stuff. We found a bunch of stuff in our multiple trips to the building. And we're going to be using another grill that I have that's been filled to match what I had back in the day, and we're going to save this all original grill for a rainy day. So what I want to do next is I want to work on the engine and trans situation. So we found a bunch of 37 Lasalle transmissions in the trunk, and me doing some detective work, there was almost like a reason why he was collecting this stuff. So we were wondering if this car had a Lasalle transmission in it back in the day, and then Ron, who was the owner that we basically bought it from, maybe he was collecting those because it had one. We're not sure, but I happen to have the parts together that we could swap and change things around. So we're gonna go ahead and bolt up a 37 Lasalle transmission with an old school adapter that I have, test it in the car, see if it lines up with those motor mounts, and then if it doesn't, we also have a 39 trans that we can bolt to it and bolt that up. Try and get an engine trans in this thing so we can test fit it and see where we're at before we just blow everything apart to start fixing the rust in the car. So let's get started. Yep. No, we may need those Allen ones because it's short. There we go.
Okay?
Yeah, I think it'll hang off that, and I'll get a big Allen.
Is that just made out of aluminum?
Yeah, it's just a piece of aluminum, and that's a stock bell housing.
Right.
They just lopped off and milled it flat, and then drilled the holes in it. It actually works out pretty damn nice. All right. And that is a Lasalle to Flathead adaptation. You can test fit it. All right, so we got the trans all bolted up. Actually, to be honest, this is a trans that I got from my late friend Carl. He had this in his stash, and through me doing some work for him, I was able to get this transmission from him. So this is actually one of his, but it's perfect because this one's already ready to go. It kind of shifted and was kept in better condition than the ones in the trunk of the car. I don't have to sit here with Croyle and clean it up. So this one was already out of a 32 Ford. So these 37 Lasalles, they usually have a really long tail shift on them. There's two lengths. There's one that's like a mid-length, like we put in the DeLorean Roadster, and then there's a really long one that goes way back. And what guys would do back in the day, there was old articles in Hot Rod magazine that it showed you how to do it. So you basically took the tail shaft off, you chopped the back side of the main shaft off, or the output shaft, and then you re-splined it so you could fit a Ford U-joint on there, and then you re-drilled and tapped the back of the trans, and then you could put your choice of early Ford transmission mounts on there and run a closed drive line. So this is what you would need because this car still has a torque tube in it, so we know at the very least it was closed drive line. So we're going to test this first. So I have all the right pieces here. It's got the 32 mount on it, so it should slide into the K-member if it fits up. So this is what's going to kind of locate where the engine and trans sits. So this is a good way to tell if any of those engine mounts that were in there, it had a Lasalle trans in it. So we're going to bolt this to the K-member and get this cinched down, and then that's going to kind of force us to see where the engine mounts are on the engine, and that will give us a good idea if it probably had a Lasalle in it. If not, pull it back out, put a 39 on it, and we'll bolt it in and then see how that goes. So we're going to swap some cars around. We got to get the DeLorean Roadster, or the DeLorean Coupe sitting outside, so we could slide this guy over and spin it around, and then use the our handy dandy hoist on the I-beam. So push some cars around and get this thing ready to mount an engine in it. Not that anybody really probably cared for it that much for the past 50 years.
Yeah. They didn't get it.
Or longer.
They didn't understand.
Oh, yeah. Probably went 100 miles an hour on the dry lakes back in the day. Got like a pit crew going here. Ready?
Yeah.
Boom. Sucker's so light. Yeah. Push on that, push or pull on that front wheel.
You got your camera here?
I'm clear.
Alright, I think that's pretty close.
A little bit more.
One more.
Yeah, another 6 inches.
Does the SN need to go?
Yep, there you go.
And that'll give us enough room that we can,
put, you wanna push it back some, or you wanna just leave it there? Or you gonna leave it on the dollies?
I think we just leave it on the dollies, because then we can actually, if we need to move the car a little bit, and I can get under the car to line up that.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so I got a 39 Ford Trans here. All these top shift Ford Transes are basically the same dimensions. So one thing I wanted to check before we put it in, while we have the two of these together, this adapter uses a stock Ford bell housing that's been chopped off with an adapter plate on it. And I wanted to measure roughly the dimensions from the back of the trans, where the trans mount bolts on, to the bell housing. And we are about at 14 and a half, give or take, just eyeballing it. And 39 Trans is about 11 3/8 roughly, so just under 11 and a half. So what did I say this was? 14 and a half. So it's just over 3 inches that it is different there. So we'll see what the engine mounts are on here. As you guys can see, I'll take you off the stand here. This thing has a couple sets of engine mounts that were built into it. So we already took the kick panel thing that they made that was adapted for the engine trans being set back a little bit. So this thing originally, these are the 32 engine mount holes here that would have had the engine mount in it. Then they moved it back, or whatever, I'm not sure, but they have a plate here, and then they had a plate here. So at some point, you know, it's had a couple different engines or different transmissions in it. So if we measure this roughly, center a hole, it's probably about 4 inches. So give or take, depending on the adapter they used, we might be on the right track here. So we're going to slide this in, and you can see where it locates in the K-member on a 32, all those holes that are in there, so it bolts in around there. So we're going to try that and see where it lands, and then we'll see what happens. So let's pick it up here, and then we'll spin it as it goes up.
Lift the trans up.
We can go up plenty high.
Okay.
Keep our hands on the whole thing. Just floating around there for fun. Really, I'm just sort of these headers. But we have to do this.
Last,
There we are too here.
hitting the steering box a little bit with the header on this side.
That might be what's, and I need to go towards me, but I'm hitting the frame. I don't think these headers are gonna drive. So I'm hitting the frame over here, and you need to come, I need to come that way anyways. Yeah, we gotta take them off, they're not gonna work. Problem is, I think we're kind of using the headers as part of the security system. I had a feeling they were.
And we're hitting the cross member up front too.
So that's,
Yeah.
oh, the pan, well, we're not far enough back, that's
Yeah.
what that's good. No, the headers won't work. They're released. Nice project. That'll give you a little more room. All right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to move this strap though. It's right on the.
Well, actually, now that I got this one off, we might be able to slide it over, just to get it, because we can't, I mean, it's not secure enough right now. It might give us the room we need to get in there, but it looks like I think we're too far forward. But we'll see. I mean, all we gotta do is just do this, and you can see over top if it's too far forward.
Yeah.
And then we'll just take it out, put the 39 on. That'll be that. How far off is it from the mount? It's way off, right?
Yeah.
Like inches off.
Yep. About an inch.
Okay, so we never had a Lasalle in it. Because they don't even close to line up. Is that clear? Sorry. Swing it here.
Okay, here it comes.
Things get heavier every time.
Yeah.
This guy. All right, we're gonna try this again with the 39 trans, see if we can line it up. What are you going on, man? Clear now. Push in some. Okay. Almost don't look at that. Let me just get these bolts here. Does that look like anything up close up front?
No.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Oh no, that looks right. Yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
I bet when it slides back in, that'll.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we come down, it might line right perfect.
You said no at first, like it was like hell no. That might be, that's a later fuel pump we got in there too. They might need to be swapped. So as we go down, it can go, because it did need to go back some, because I could tell by the drive shaft. So we're right there. It's just what's hitting that fuel pump's what's.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got to change to a different fuel pump. All right. So we got the engine mounted all in, and worked out pretty good, except we basically, I don't even have the engine. We're still, so we can tell definitely the rear or the front mount was for the 39 trans, and we're still off quite a bit. And when we push it back all the way, the fuel pump touches. And it was kind of like confused, why was it doing that? Well, then it dawned on us, the fuel pump mount on a 4.2 intake is, at least on this one, I think they're all that way, is cast into the intake, and it pushes the fuel pump back. So the fuel pump stand and the breather are cast in. So if we walk you over to one of my other intakes, that's why it's nice to have a little stash of stuff, of course. All of these intakes, they have the flange right there, like factory. So that would allow you to actually put the intake or the fuel pump and turn it, and it would face away. So I think I'm going to grab, I have this old Weiand high-rise 2.2, and that's kind of what it sounded like. It had similar to what I had when I talked to Jack, and I think it would be a little more correct on this. So we're going to swap to that for now. Obviously we'll have to play with the carburetors, because this thing was running 4.2s with straight linkage, but we obviously can't fit it, and I don't want to bash in the firewall or modify that. So I'm going to take the intake off so we can get the engine and trans bolted in and slid back, and then we can kind of go from there. Alright, so I got the Weiand high-rise back on, and I bolted up all the fuel pump stuff, and I tightened the engine, the trans mount down, which pulled everything back, and everything clears now. So that 4.2 intake was the problem. Just took us a few minutes to realize that, but now everything kind of jives. But what I'm seeing here, again, we kept like everything from when we got this car, and as we're going through it, it's kind of interesting. So I don't have the engine set down all the way, but I started setting it down, and I could tell that the crank pulley was about to touch. Now I think they cut this flange down already here. But if we dropped it down all the way so that it touches the stock biscuit mounts, it was going to sit too low, and it was going to end up basically sitting on this cross member here. So something popped in my head that we found a crusty set of these mounts in the car that had bolts through it, like rusty bolts, like that it had been on the car or a car, and also found a set or two of new old stock ones. So I test fit them, and look at this. So it's like almost perfect. So I'm glad I kept the old crusty ones and these new ones, because it turns out these were what they used to put in for engine mounts. And yeah, so another reason keeping everything when you're doing one of these cars is nice. So I just gotta slide that one under. There's actually a little terminal block here, which is kind of funny. Need to take that off or lift the engine up, put it under. But yeah, cool. So holes all line up now, and everything seems to be jiving. So I'm going to put some bolts down in it. Then we can take the hoist off, get everything free and take a step back and see how it looks. Probably go over just a little bit more. Oop. It's pretty close. Alright. Cool. Sitting down in there. Love it when a plan comes together. Oh, the early Ford purists shout with victory. Flathead back in it. Heck yeah. Cool. All right, so after a little bit of messing around, I got the original hood back on the car, and it's kind of sitting on here, and it's been really fun mocking up the engine and the hood and all that stuff, and kind of seeing what this car might have looked like back in the day. Now, the big thing with this hood that's going to need some work is I think this hood was actually stored. The two pieces were separate, but I think it was laid down with a bunch of other heavy stuff on top of it. So what happened is this curve in the corners here was kind of taken out and started to get flattened. So I already started kind of bending it back into shape, but it's definitely not correct yet. So I'm going to need to take a bunch of work when I can get somebody to give me a hand and get these two halves to fit better, but we'll probably do that a little further down the line. Right now, I just wanted to mock the hood up and see how it looks, and I'm really psyched on it. It looks super cool. So we got the engine all hooked up in here now, and that high rise I think is pretty fitting on the car. And I think it'll work out really good, and we should be able to continue forward with it. So now that I know what engine and trans I'm running in the car, we could kind of start disassembling stuff here soon. Take the body off, brace the body, take the body off, do the same thing like we did with the Schroll 32, and get the frame blasted, get all the pieces blasted and cleaned up, so we can start putting new things in and start making it nice. I'm going to be doing some what I call a sympathetic restoration. So we're going to be cutting out the old sub rails where it's really rough, and then piecing in a new set of sub rails and floors in this, and that should hopefully get us a nice and solid car that we can set back down on the frame and keep working our way forward and get a car that's running and driving after a little while. So yeah, super excited. It feels so nice to have the original hood, the old louvered hood back on the car. It just was like such a cool reunion when I was able to just finally set that back on. So that's the newest update on the DeLorean Roadster. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. We'll be doing some more updates on it soon. I'm going to take a little break on this car until I get some other stuff done on the Schroll car and we get a little further along. Then I'm going to be pulling this body off and starting on it. So it'll probably be maybe a month or so till we get back on this car, but working on juggling all these different projects, and we're going to be doing a lot of really fun stuff on these cars coming up soon. So thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Catch you later.